Hey, welcome to your carrier update brought to you by PowerFleet. I'm Mike Vincent. He's Zach Strickland. What's going on, my friend?
Tender rejection rates bouncing back up after hitting a bottom right around 22%, just above 22%. We're now at 23.89%.
22% is a bottom.
Yeah, that's right. A bottom, if you will, at this in this crazy era that we're in.
Yeah.
Increase expected, though, as we approach July 4th, end of quarter as well, end of month. This is something that happens every single year. If you see it.
Not quite this drastic every year, but
not as nuts as it was right here in 2020, but 2018, 2019, et cetera. I mean, it's always a thing because capacity comes offline, shipping activity increases. It's unavoidable, human nature. There's some sort of, there's a lot going on at this time. So a lot of that freight coming off those docks. So big reason for this, if we look at the next chart, the outbound tender volume index, demand still extremely high, elevated. We're as high as we were right after the polar vortex situation. Fragment of the polar vortex situation. Yeah. Thank you. And it's not getting softer. We had a little bit of easing here in April, right after Easter. Obviously, a little dip there, but it's really not going anywhere. The reduction in tender rejection rates appears to be really derivative of increasing contract rates.
Yeah, you would. I mean, it has to be, right? Mm-hmm. And carriers are playing nicer with shippers, et cetera, in the right places. Less. They're trying. They're trying, right? But yeah, and now we're starting to see it kind of go back up, that volume, and it's interesting how high it would be and where the OTRI would be if maritime and air was just clicking.
Yeah.
And pumping that freight into the ports and stuff like that.
All
how difficult things might be right now.
Yeah. If they were able to efficiently offload all those containers and get everything where out of the other log jams.
Yeah. It would look at the backup in the engine.
Yeah. It would be
crazy.
This could be much worse.
Yeah, it could be much worse.
But where it stands right now, demand is still extremely high, not going anywhere. It looks like it's a ceiling almost. If you look around this 16,000 point, it's almost like that's the throughput limit in terms of infrastructure.
Doesn't matter. Well, I mean, you look at the ports and you look at what's going on in maritime. There is definitely a ceiling of the amount of freight we can get in here in a specific amount of time, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's there.
Yeah. So let's look at the weekly changes in these things with the weighted rejection index, a combination of the tender market share, as well as the weekly change in tender rejection rate. So these are going to be, the blue and reds are going to be the most significant changes as it pertains to volume. Relative to the rest of the country. So blues, increasing tender rejection rates week over week, and reds decreasing tender rejection rates week over week. And a lot of blue on here. A lot more blue than there is red or orange, whichever your preference.
And stable highs.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, these grays don't mean that they just don't count.
Yeah.
They're already elevated and they're not moving down.
Right. Yeah. Most everything is staying where it's at.
Yeah.
But these larger markets, these tallest markets in the country, Atlanta, Harrisburg, Dallas, Ontario, obviously a big influence on the rest of the market. Whenever you see blues with these markets, they don't need a lot of tender rejection rate change necessarily to make a big impact, but they have a huge influence over the rest of the country. So when these markets are
no doubt
turning.
No doubt, and they work together, right? I mean, there's these pockets of of power movers. Like you're looking at what is that Harrisburg that you're looking at right there? There's the tall blue there, but right next to it you got Elizabeth and New Jersey.
Yeah,
that are no slouch, or Allentown and then New Jersey right
Allentown.
Next to it. New Jersey and Elizabeth are one and the same, are they not? Sorry about that.
Yeah,
slip there. But I mean, they're both highly elevated, and they're all going up in rejections.
Yes.
Right?
Week over week, they're going up. So this means increasing spot market activity, increasing upward rate pressure in these markets. And then watch out everywhere else because these are, anytime you're looking at a hub market like this turn blue, all these other markets are now at risk. And you can see there's blues all over the southeast.
Oh yeah, and there's some light blues that could be darkening, right? You got Fort Worth over here, and Houston is still quite elevated.
Phoenix.
Even Phoenix is a fairly decent shade of blue. You got Laredo action going on over here. And you got these elevated markets over here that go right along the I-80, I-90 corridor right through there. You're going from Indiana, Chicago, and Milwaukee, really, all the way through Columbus, Cleveland, and all the way over there into Pittsburgh and Harrisburg, which are elevated in volume. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's pressure.
So let's look at Atlanta real quick and break this down a little bit. Tender rejection rates are right around 26.3%. Not an all-time high by any means, but it's still right around the all-time highs. Upper 20s, mid to upper 20s, bouncing between those two. This is why we see that blue here, is because there's a big jump right here. That was actually 23.2% tender rejection rate.
Is that right what there was in that valley?
Yeah, so it's actually jumped up quite a bit here, and it
that
just
was
looks
pretty low.
muted.
I mean, that's the lowest since April. That 23.2, isn't it? I mean, that's or tied.
Yeah.
With something in May, right? I mean, that's.
Yeah, it's not. This is not a significant loosening by any means.
No,
and it's
not even
certainly,
close.
Yeah, and so the fact is, it's probably going to increase throughout the rest of the month, or have some sort of floor right around this level that's going to keep it elevated into the second
Heading
quarter.
towards the fall.
Yeah.
Heading towards the fall and holiday season.
Right.
Excellent stuff. Thank you so much, Zach.